Good morning, everybody. It's Peter here from AJS, and it's once again my delight to be going into a jeweller's workshop somewhere around Australia. And this week we're going to the South Island and to sunny Hobart and the even sunnier Kirra-lea Caynes. Welcome, Kirra-lea.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Great to have you back on board. Yes. How's things down there in sunny Hobart?
Overcast and raining.
There you go.
But I love it. I love it. It's a beautiful, moody weather that you don't really get on the mainland.
No, you look all snuggled up there this morning.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It does make it hard getting out of bed in the morning, but that's part of the appeal.
Indeed. Now, we'll have to share with our viewers, Kirra-lea, that I had a little excursion with my wife down to see you in over Christmas, and you spoiled us by taking us and some friends of yours out fossicking. And
Sure
we went to a little creek near Derby. Is it Derby? Is that how we pronounce it?
That's it, Derby.
Yep. And we got into our waders and we went down into the stream and we had our shovels and sieves, and the atmosphere was magnificent. And
it's pretty magical, isn't it, that you can just dig around in a river in the middle of nowhere and find treasure. It's pretty cool.
And the stream was cool, but we didn't realize really how cool until after a few hours you couldn't feel your feet.
Yeah. I mean, the waders are fantastic protection, but they're not well insulated.
Yeah, and then we got our booty and we all took it back to a cafe and we shared it all up.
Yeah, well, we had some. Did we have pizza? I don't remember.
We had an ice cream. Yeah.
We had ice cream, did we? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was lovely. So thank you so much for that little excursion. That was
very,
fantastic.
Very welcome.
A definite highlight of that trip.
Yeah, I'm just lucky we found some things, because sometimes you don't find anything.
Oh, didn't you pre-plant it there before we went?
Oh, yeah. What's it called? Salt in the area? Is that what the saying is?
I'm not sure. Now, we've got a few viewers there online, so welcome to those. If you'd like to introduce yourself by just letting us know where you're from, that would be wonderful. And today we're going to be adding stones to our castings post-casting. Now, Kirra-lea, why would you want to do this?
Well, sometimes it's your plan, because the stones that you want to put in your piece can't withstand being cast in place. So they're not strong enough. They don't have the pressure resistance or the heat resistance. So you have to set them after you've cast your piece. Or sometimes you're setting stones because there's a little bit of a boo-boo and you need to cover it up and make it look intentional. Or other times it's because your stones have fallen out of your casting and you need to set them back in after it's all cast. So there's a variety of reasons, but most of them are just aesthetic.
Fair enough. Now, where are we going to start today? What piece have you got for us to work on today to start with?
Well, I have a bit of troubleshooting pieces, but then I also have some that just need a bit of dazzle. So I might just start with this mixed metal ring. It's I think I did demonstrations on mixed metal. So it was sterling silver that I cast first, and I made sure that there was a piece of it broken, like a piece of it was missing. And then I went and recast it and healed it, or rather filled in the broken part of the silver with rose gold. So now I have a whole ring again, and part of it is rose gold, but not sure if you can see on the table of that signet, there's this big porosity mark. And instead of trying to fill it with a bit of rose gold and solder it, you'll be able to see the solder, because there's not really very good rose gold solder on the market. So most jewelers will use yellow gold solder, and you will be able to see that particularly on the table of a signet ring like this. So instead of messing around and trying to fill it, I'm just going to set a stone in that big bit of porosity. Problem
Beautiful.
solved, and then I can hike up the price on it.
Indeed, that's what it's all about, profit.
That's it. Yeah. Some of mistakes are just an opportunity to turn into a feature.
Indeed, yes. Okay, so have you selected your stone?
I have a bunch of stones here. Don't know if I can do any endorsements. I won't tell you where I got them from. I'll hide the packet so you can't read where I got them. But they're diamonds from a supplier in Melbourne. Okay. And I think it'll look kind of cute if I have two stones maybe. So I'm going to start with doing one stone, one bigger diamond, and then I will see if it'll look good if I add a second one just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I do have a diamond selected out. And I'll just quickly measure that so I know what I'm working with. Yeah, 2.2, cool. So I'll just lay it down on that porosity mark and just see, yeah, absolutely, we'll cover it. Do I like the positioning of it? It's kind of a bit in the middle, but maybe if I slide it up a little bit, I can still cover that porosity mark, but make it a little bit off center. I think I like that better.
Now, Kirra-lea, just before we go on, could you just see if you can play with your earpiece to get your microphone away from your neck or whatever it might be rubbing on something? Yeah.
Might be rubbing on my dreads. Is that kind of better?
Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah.
Feel free to interrupt me at any time to correct that.
No worries. Thank you very much.
That's okay. All righty. Well, let's get into it. When I'm setting, I normally use a ball vise that can be attached to my my bench peg thingy. I don't even know what that is. The thing that's like bolted onto my bench. My ball vise has like a little platform that slots onto it. So the GRS supply, GRS is the company that makes them. AJS supplies them a little platform, and then I have my ball vise. I normally like to work with that. If you don't have the funds for a ball vise, there's also a Benchmate. Again, it's a GRS product. AJS sells it, and it slots onto your bench where your bench peg is. That's also a fantastic option. It's a cheaper option. Or if you don't have any of those options, which is where most of us start out at, you just have this ring clamp. Really, really basic, really cheap, and works pretty damn well. So I'm going to be doing my demonstrations with this today because this is where we all start out, and it's good to see what you can do with the entry-level tools. So it's always handy to use. Sometimes I see people have purpose-made bench pegs where they will carve out the wood in a little semicircle so that their little ring clamp fits in there perfectly. I haven't done that, but I do have this little groove here, which is just from how I naturally work. And that's what I sort of wedge it into, but it's not exactly purpose built. All right. So I'm going to start by doing a little pilot hole in that porosity, and then I'm going to drill down into that pilot hole. So let me grab out a drill bit. I should grab out a ball burr. My apologies. A little ball burr. So I'm just going to put I'm going to start a little hole, I guess, so that I can drill into it better. Even though the porosity is there, I just want to make sure it's a nice, easy, clean hole. All right, fantastic. And now I'm going to drill into that with my drill bit, and I'm going to go fairly deep because I guess this is the pilot hole. This is going to guide the drill bits down and all the ball burrs down in this direction. All right, so let's go in. If you have trouble going down straight, I find if you just, I got to make sure that my micromotor is plugged in. All right, so I'll go in a little bit one way, and then I'll twist it and go in again another way. And this way, if you keep rotating it, you will end up going down straight. If you have trouble getting your drill to go directly down, just giving it a little bit of a rotate like that.
Yeah, good little tip.
Yeah. It means that you sort of true it up, because you can't help it, but your hands are a little bit biased. You will tend to tilt your hand one direction or another. Alrighty, so I know that my diamond is 2.2 mil. I like to use these little kits here because it's 1.5 to 2.6. So I know mine's 2.2, and I always keep these in order. So it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So this is the drill bit we need to end at, but we're not going to go straight for that. I always go a little bit smaller first. It gives you room for if you bugger up, you know. If you bugger up a little bit, you've got a bit of room to true it up again.
That's a technical jewelry term, is it?
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, this is only a little pilot hole. Trying to jam a really big ball burr into that, it's probably going to skip around and jump out. So if you start with a ball burr that's smaller, you won't have that problem. All right, so I am going to go in the depth, the entire depth of that ball burr. So until that ball burr is fully covered by that metal. Wouldn't go too much deeper than that though. And now I'm going to come in with the ball burr that is the exact size of my diamond, and I only want to go in halfway. I only want to go into sort of the depth of the widest part of the ball burr. Let's put a little bit of beeswax lube on that. All right, go nice and slow so you can pull up when you need to. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that ball burr is not all the way in like the last one was. It's only about halfway.
So what size was that burr then?
2.2, which is the same size as the diamond.
Okay.
Give it a little bit of a brush off with your old toothbrush or your boyfriend's toothbrush when he's annoyed you. It's just to get rid of all of the little bits of metal. I don't know what they're called. There's probably a name for it, like squaff or something.
Swarf.
Swarf. There we go. Close.
Yeah. No, I like yours better. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we've got a good view of that.
See, so the stone is sitting just on top of that hole. The widest part of the stone is just sitting on top of the hole, which is what we want. All right. So we're going to leave it like that. I'm using a little piece of beeswax. It's my little stone picker-upper.
Okay.
I'm going to get that out of there. And now I'm going to get out a heart burr that is the same size as the diamond. Sometimes I start off with a heart burr that is one size smaller, because sometimes that's all you need. And then you work your way up to the bigger one. So this is 1.9 to 3 mils. So 9, 2, 1, 2. There we go. That's the size that is the same size as the diamond. We're going to go for the size just below it. Again, it's all about giving yourself a bit of room, bit of wiggle room. All right, so let's pop that in there. You want to make sure it's straight. All right, so that slides in quite deep. I might just see how the 2.2 feels. You know what, 2.2 does feel better than 2.1. So let's just go with the one that's the exact same size as the diamond. So we want it to be pretty straight. Well, as straight as you can get it. So put it in and then just give it a little bit of a, let it run around in there just a little bit. And if you feel like it's not quite straight, like you do with the drill bit, just rotate it and go again, and rotate it and go again. But always try and make it as straight as possible. And so if you were a little bit off, each time you rotate it, you'll be truing that up again. Cool. So we're just creating a little seat, like a little undercut for the widest part of that stone to click into. And if I've done this right, I should be able to pop that stone on top of that hole, and then I'll come in with my little pusher, and I should be able to hear this very audible and satisfying.
Well, let's all listen. Yep.
I don't know. Let's see if we can hear it. I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear that?
I heard something. we'll say that was it. We all shared that moment. That was lovely.
Yeah. All right. So it's in there. Oops.
Beautiful.
It's hard to see because the light is so bright. So what we're aiming for with this hammer setting, it always looks so good if the table of your stone is flush with the metal. So if you've got a nice flat signet top like I've got here, having the table of that stone the same height as the metal, it's just you know, perfect. Hang on. Yeah. That's what you want. All right, so let's tighten this little stone up. At the moment, it is pretty tight. It's not going to get out of there, but let's just make sure it is as tight as it can be. So I'm going to come in with my little burnisher. It's just an old drill bit that I've ground down, rounded off, and polished. And I'm going to come in on, I don't know, what you call it, like a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to focus on pressing that rose gold down around that stone. So I'm just coming in at first, kind of lightly doing it. The reason why I know you can't see that, sorry, I'll do it on this angle so you can see. The reason why I'm lightly going over it at first is I don't want to put too much pressure on one side or another, because I might make that stone move. You know, if it's got a bit of wiggle room in here and I'm pressing really hard on this side here, the stone's going to be pushed deeper into this side, and this other, the opposite end, is going to rise up. And then you're going to have a stone that's not even. So you just want to go in softly at first to make sure it's all tight. There's no wiggle room, but you're not doing it so tight that you're making the stone go on a funny angle. It can also work in your favor. If your stone is on a bit of a funny angle, you can come in and go a bit harder on the side that's the funny angle. And sometimes that can true it up and make that stone sit a lot flatter. Cool. All right. And now I'm just going to run my burnisher around that and just make sure it's nice and tight. Cool. That's it. Hammer set diamond. So it's got this awesome little bright cut looking bit around it, a little frame around it. That's from my burnisher. There we go. You can see it. So you showed
Susie, sorry, Kirra-lea, Susie just asked what was the name of your pusher tool, which was your homemade burnisher, right?
Yeah. This is a burnisher, which is homemade, and my push is homemade as well. I mean, we could maybe in the future we could run through how to make your own little setting tools, but I pretty much only have the two tools that I make. That'd be a short video. All right, now let's have a little gander at that and see if we're happy with one stone. I almost think two stones would look good on this, but do I want to bore you guys by showing you how to do it again? Probably not. I mean, we've just done it. We probably don't need to do it again. You can rewatch the video if you want to see it again, I guess. So let's
now, if you did another stone, would you use a different size or what?
I would use a different size stone, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm just sorry, I slipped with my burnisher, so I left a little like burnish line, like a little scribe line around the outside of that stone. So I'm just emerying that off, being quite conscious not to actually hit the stone. Not because my emery paper will damage the diamond, not at all. I could actually just go straight over the top of that and not have any second thought for that diamond. But it's a very, very good habit to get into, to be very conscious about where your emery paper is going, because you're not always going to be setting diamonds. And if you're setting anything that is less than a diamond, you will scratch your stone with the emery paper, because the emery paper is made up of sapphire, and sapphire is the second hardest stone there is. And so it will scratch every other stone below it on the Mohs hardness scale, including itself. It will scratch itself too. So even though I know I can go over this diamond with emery paper and it'll be fine, I do not ever want to get myself in the habit of doing that, in case I just absentmindedly do it late one night and completely abrade the top of my stone that I just spent ages setting. That's a little tip for you.
Yeah. You're full of them. Well done, Kirra-lea.
Oh yeah, spewing. At
this point, I'll just invite anyone, if they've got any questions on that or any other means of setting, just let Kirra-lea know through the chat. That'd be great.
Yes, please do. All right, so that was hammer setting. Let's do a grain setting. And I'm going to do it on this moon shape. The moon shape does need a bail soldered onto it. So I'm going to use a stone that can withstand heat, because I will have to go solder a bail on this. If I was proactive, I would have soldered a bail on it before I came on today, but I didn't. So I'm going to be putting probably not a diamond in this one, because it is just silver. It doesn't really deserve, silver doesn't really deserve diamonds, but I'll put a sapphire in it, and sapphire is heat resistant. How do you hold that in your little clampy clamp? I mean, you could clamp it like that and have an all right time setting it. Or what I'm going to do is I've got this piece of wood and then set as shellac. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it on there, and then I can hold it like this and work on the entire surface. So let's heat up this setter's wax. Ugh. I'll sort of do it down here. I know you guys can't properly see, but at least you get to see some of it. All right, so I'm turning on my flame. I'm going to heat up my shellac. And I like to use the back of my tweezers to sort of manipulate that shellac so it goes in the position that I need it to be. And I need it all at the top. So I'm just going to heat it up a little bit, and then I just use the back of my tweezers to walk that shellac into the position I need it, which is up top, because I'm about to put the pendant up on top. Let's go a little bit more. Whoop, too much. Don't get this on your hands. It freaking hurts.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's hot. All right, now I'm going to heat up my pendant, or the thing that I want to stick to it. And let's pop it on top of that shellac. Okay, it's not hot enough yet. Let's go a little bit more. And now that's going into the shellac. Cool.
Just while you're getting that sorted, Kirra-lea, Susie just asked what's an alternate to getting a homemade burnisher. So you can buy the tool and it's only $10 or something, but Kirra-lea's a cheapskate and likes to make her own.
No, it's more about I don't like the ones that you can buy.
Uh-huh.
I haven't found a store-bought burnisher I like. I don't know all the whole range that AJS has, but this is one of their burnishers that you can buy. And that is just it's an overkill. It's massive. It's not exactly precise. This sort of thing is great for if you're doing big cabs, if you're doing big bezel settings. Yep. That's what that's good for. Another burnisher that I bought, which I actually quite like, it's this agate burnisher, but I didn't ever buy it to use it. It's just like a pretty little wand. So I bought it because it's cute.
Cast spells.
I've never used it, but I just went, I like that. I feel like a magic person having that on my bench. But I've never seen burnishers like this for sale. It could be because they're so bloody easy to make yourself that nobody ever buys them from the supplier. I don't know. Peter, you might have to find out if you can buy burnishers like this. This is just a twist. What is it, like a pin vise? It's just a pin vise with a handle. You will have to buy that. And then you can put whatever you want inside of the pin vise. And so this is just used to be an old drill bit. I mean, it was just something, I just knocked the busted old ball burr off the top and then rounded it up. I just used a file and some emery paper, and then I literally polished it on my jeweler's polishing wheel, and it came up beautiful.
Then you got the tool that you want.
That's right. And a good thing about the pin vise is because when you're using setting tools, you always have to set them up for your hand. Everybody's hands are different, and you need to be able to set them for your hand. And the pin vise allows you to put the pin at the distance that you need it. Put the burnisher at the distance you need it. So it's a bit short. For me, I like to have, oh gosh, come on. I like to have the ball in my hand, and then I kind of like if I'm holding a pencil, I like the tip of it right there.
Yeah, so you can change that distance to suit your hand. Exactly.
I'm having a bit of a weird hand day and I need my finger to be longer. I can just adjust it so it's longer. Or if I have people coming over and I'm teaching them setting, we can just adjust this for their hand. But when you get into your gravers, this is not adjustable. This is in place. So you'll be able to see it's pretty good. I did leave this one a little bit long because every time you sharpen it, you are removing metal. So it's sort of like when you're a kid and you're buying school shoes. Your mum will always get you shoes that are really big because you're going to grow into them, right? Well, this is sort of the opposite. You leave it a little bit long because you know it's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. So eventually,
just like your pencils.
That's right, just like a pencil. So eventually it'll get to the stage where it's so short it's really uncomfortable to use, and that's when you'll take that out and put a new one in and start again. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yasmin asked a question, and she said, have you told us about your recipe yet? Yasmin, I'm just not sure what you're meaning there. If we haven't answered your question yet, if you could elaborate, that would be great. Back to you, Kirra-lea.
All right. Well, I'm just breaking off a bit of this shellac because it went over the section that I want to set a stone on. I just broke it off. It's pretty brittle stuff, which can be a problem because sometimes I'll be doing a fair bit of, I'll be doing some pressure and this will just break off. But the alternative that people use is that like thermo gel or whatever it is, thermal, I don't know, it's like this gray stuff and you put it in hot water and it goes all soft and squishy and you can make it all malleable, and then you put it in cold water and it goes hard. But I just don't like it. I really don't like it. I can never get it to do what I want. I'm not saying that that's not the product for you. It might be perfect for you. Right. I do prefer this, but it is, I can tell you it is not the best product either.
So Yasmin's just elaborated, and she was talking about the shellac and wasn't sure whether you made your own or used one that existed. So
I bought
there
it
it is there.
Yes, it's just a big stick of shellac. Yeah.
There you go. Question answered. Thank you very much for that, Yasmin.
It's kind of like the stuff that, you'd melt down and put on your envelope and put your seal into it. It's pretty much the same stuff as that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So this cute little moon here, I think cute little moon deserves a star. And I'm going to put that, where am I going to put it? I think it'll look quite cute having one over here. Just one, I reckon. Yeah, right there. All right. And what am I going to put in it? I think stars are yellow, right? Or white. Ooh, I don't know. What color are stars? Maybe I will do sort of this bluey purple color. All right, it's a nice big sapphire, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing a bit better. Let's measure that. It is 2.5, so bigger than what I was doing with the diamond before. Let's just hold that against there. Yeah, cute. You'll be able to see it for sure. All right, 2.5. So for grain setting, we're going to start pretty much the exact way that we started for our hammer setting. We're going to do everything right up to the point where we're using the heart burr. We will not be using a heart burr for this one. I think I've heard some people using heart burrs for grain setting. I'm not one of them.
Now, what's the definition of grain setting then, Kirra-lea?
It's raising a little speck of metal, like a little, like woodworkers, how woodworkers are there with their chisel and they're like, as they're chiseling, a little curl of wood comes up. We're doing that exact thing with metal. But instead of flicking off that little curl of metal, we're going to keep it and we're going to compress it in a cute little ball shape over our stone. And so we're raising a grain. So when we're lifting up that little slither of metal, it's called raising a grain. And then we will bead it with this little beader tool here that's got a concave polished section on the inside of it, like a little cup. And that will dome over that little raised grain, that little slither of metal, and we'll dome it up over the top of the stone and it'll be held in place. So I don't know if that's the definition of grain setting, but that's describing what it is.
No, you did a great job, I think. Thank you very much.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so I'm doing my pilot hole. And now, well, I'm doing my little, I don't know what you call that. I always do a little ball burr, and then I come in with my drill bit and I do my pilot hole. I tend not to do back holes. I'm not a big fan of back holes. Back holes are only ever meant to be there if the stone's so deep that you just really have to have it. I find back holes let crap in behind your stone and make your stone look dark and stupid.
There you go. Say it as it is.
Dark and stupid. So at first it'll look awesome and bright and sparkly because it has a bit of light coming in from behind of it, which is awesome. But then as people wear it, it gets filled with moisturizer, soap, all sorts of gunk. And then it's just absolutely packed with filth. And sometimes if you've got, say, a ring that has lots of back holes, that filth is in constant contact with your skin and you'll get dermatitis and it'll be very unpleasant and gross. And same sorts of things happen with earrings and with pendants, that stuff will just get caught up behind the stones. And not only does it hold all that bacteria and yuckiness up against your body, but your stone stops being bright and sparkly because it's got all this crap behind it.
Yeah. So you only get your bright and sparkly for a little while and then that disappears and you've got all these other issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of the back hole. So I try to avoid it wherever possible. Sometimes it's not possible to avoid because, like I was saying, the stone is so deep that you just break through when you're trying to set it because the stone has the depth. That's pretty much the only time that I will intentionally do a back hole. I feel like most places, like big jewelry places that mass produce, they have back holes and they have really big back holes. They're doing it because they are saving themselves money. The less gold they give you, the more profit they make. So I'm not a big fan of that. They've normalized the back holes, but it's actually just a big problem. And it weakens the piece and makes it, not as durable because it's got all these bloody holes and it's like Swiss cheese. Alrighty, 2.6 is the size of my stone, and that's as big as these little ball burrs go, thank goodness.
Sure.
Alrighty. So I'm not going to come straight in with the 2.6. I've already done a sort of smaller hole, but I'm going to do another hole. I'm going to come in with a ball burr that's slightly bigger again, but not as big as I need it to be, just because I know if I try and put a big ball burr in this little ball burr hole, it's just going to spin around and jump out and tear up the surface of my metal. So to avoid that, I just have to walk up through the sizes until I get close enough to my 2.6, which is now. All right, so now I'm going to make sure that I'm still had a bit of a jump then. There we go. I only need to go, I might go a little bit further than halfway. Let's say I'm going 3/4 of the way in. I do, for my grain setting, want the stone to be set a little bit deeper than table flush. Alrighty, so I'm leaving it like that for now. Let's just test the stone. So okay, if the stone does fall in a bit, what I'm going for this time is not the stone to be sitting on top of that hole. I want it to be sort of sunk into that hole, which is perfect. That's what I want. So it's not sitting on top of the hole this time. It is sitting in the hole. It's sunk down in the hole. Not heaps. I just need it sunk a little bit. All right, let's pull that out. So because I'm going to do a star setting, which is super, super cute, I'm just going to mark out. I find it's very useful if I mark out where I need all of my little star bursts to go. So I've got, this is my little scriber here. So I'm going to just do some little lines. I go, yep, there and there. I'm just marking out where I want everything to go. And I want there and there. I always like the bottom of my star to be a bit longer, so let's mark that out longer. All right, and here and here. So with my star setting, my absolute favorite star setting to do is the one that has 4 grains, but they're not set north, south, east, west. They're set at like blah, 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 blah. I don't know what you call that, like the northeast, the southwest, the they're not okay, let's do it with a clock. Okay, they're not 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Well, I'm going for like sort of like 2:30, and I'm going for 7:30. I'm going for diagonal square.
Okay, we'll time you then.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, so I've marked out where everything is. I am also going to come in with my come here, my dividers.
Trumpet.
Yeah, my trumpet. Coming in with my dividers because I want to make sure that where these because it's a bit of pretty work. I'm doing a bit of pretty work with this one, and I need to make sure that my pretty work is evenly spaced. So I'm just setting my dividers up so that I can mark out the same distance for each of these little like where I'm going to start my grain, where I'm going to start raising my grain. I'm going to start that at the same distance in each of these locations. So I'm not guessing, I have it, you know, mapped out. That's how it's going to look really pretty. And I have some lines that I'm going to create. They're just engraved lines. They're not going to do anything other than look bloody cute. So I'm just marking those out as well to make sure they're nice and even.
If you can try and give us a close-up once you finish that.
Well, you're not going to be able to see much, unfortunately, because it's all about the way that the light works on it. I don't know. Can you kind of see that? See, like on different angles, you can see the middle's been burnished. And that's my little scribed marks. That's my little, you don't want to go too deep, I guess. Do you? I don't know. It doesn't matter. You're about to engrave it. All right. So I'm going to come in with this one first. I don't even know what this one's called, but it's a very sharp sort of knife edgy graver. So it's not your square graver. It's your, I don't even know what it's called. It's like a knife. I don't know. Let's test if it's sharp. It is sharp. So it's getting caught on my fingernail, which means it is sharp, ready to go. So I'm first of all just going to do a few cuts, a few bright cuts. I'm just going to bring this in a bit closer so you guys can hopefully see a bit better. So the bright cuts, this is just aesthetic, just as setting it up to make it look like a cute little star. So I'm getting my graver lined up. So there we go. That's where my dividers have left that mark. That's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to push in all the way in. There we go. So that's one cute little engraved line. And let's come in over here. Another cute little engraved line. Whoop, slipped. It's because I'm going over that little ridge. All right, let's do this other one over here. Where's that? There we go. Divider impression is right there, and my tool finds it and sits in, and that's where I start my cut. And then this is the cute one. This is the really long one. Makes my stars look very, very starry.
Yeah.
So these are just aesthetic cuts at the moment. Oh, that's hard to see, isn't it? You sort of see now.
Yeah, we can.
You know what I might do? I know it's quite a textured surface. Let's just
obviously when you do.
What was that, Peter? Sorry.
Sorry, Kirra-lea, I was just because you wouldn't want to pierce your own other hand, would you? So.
All right, I'll just move that back a bit so that we can see what's going on. I just left this surface with all the sand cast texture on it, but if I take that off, you can see what I'm doing now.
Yeah, perfect.
And you can see where I've left these little marks. That's from my dividers. That's where my my grave is going to click into those like a little locator pin. All right, let's just try our stone again. Yep. All right, so I've got some cute aesthetic lines going on there. I might go in there and deepen them up because I did just emery that section. So I'm just going to deepen them up again, true them up. one thing that's quite important that I haven't mentioned is that this finger here is always in contact with the thing I'm cutting. So even though I'm pushing, I'm not just like pushing with my hand all the way back here and then suddenly I slip and I go flying off and scratch up my surface. I'm always in absolute control. So even if I do slip, I have this finger here is stopping me from going too far. It's like my little backup brake.
Good to know.
I have maximum control. I'm just deepening those up a bit. Cool. All right. So in doing that, I will have pushed a little bit of metal inside of where that stone's going to go. So let's just really gently ball burr that out. Make sure that that stone can get in there perfectly. Now it's party time. This is the real deal. Let's pop the stone in. And I'm going to use my pusher just to make sure that stone is nice and wedged in there. Cool. And the table is a little bit lower than the surface, just a tiny little bit lower. Now I'm going to come in with my square. Oh, do I want to do square? I don't know. It does create a different look when you do that.
What are your choices?
Either square graver, which is going to give me quite a big cut, or go back in with my little one. Gives you a small grain and a small cut. But I think being a pendant, I can get away with small grains. If I was doing a ring, I'd want to have big grains because I need it to be as durable as possible. So I think being a pendant, I can keep this as quite delicate. It doesn't need big grains because it's not having that everyday banging, wearing and tear that a ring would get. Let's come in with our small graver, our small sharp one. So it's going to give us small, delicate little cut lines. It's also going to give us a small, delicate little piece of metal. It's going to raise up and we're going to bead that, and it's going to be a small, petite bead. So there we go. I found where the dividers have left their little mark. This time I've got to be I was very controlled before, but I've got to be even more controlled. So I like to come in and press down. So I've really got a good deep start, and I'm going to very gently push towards that stone, but then lift it up. So I'm pushing towards that stone, but I want to stop before I hit the stone. And once I got to the stone, so I'll just emulate it again so you guys can see. So I'm coming in with the cut. And then once I get really close to that stone, I lift my graver up. So I'm pushing that little bit of metal as close to that stone as I can. It's so tricky to see in this environment, but let's go again.
You're describing it very well. We've got the idea.
Fantastic. And when you're doing this is the part where we're starting to secure the stone. So it's starting to get a little bit tight now, because as we push that metal close to the stone, it gets it a little bit tight, but it's not going to hold it in place yet. So what we have to be mindful of is, just like when we were burnishing the hammer set stone, is not to go too hard on one side because we might tip our stone. So I raised the grain up over there at, like, let's say it's 11 o'clock. Let's come over here to the 5 o'clock now and do the opposite side. So we're not unevenly putting pressure on that stone and tipping it. All right, so I'm just going to come in. There we go. And let's do these other guys. So I like to come in quite high at first and push my graver deep down into the metal. The deeper it is, the more metal you're going to raise up. And also the deeper it is, the harder it is to skip out and slide across your stone. And walk towards the stone, and then lift it up and sort of pushing it up and over onto that stone. And let's go again, finding that little groove that the divider's made for me. There we go. So my graver locks into it, and let's push a little bit closer. There we go. And now I push it up and over on my stone. Cool. So what I've got right now is a stone that's kind of tight, and it's got, I don't know if you can see, but it's got these little little spiky claws that are sticking straight up. It's very hard to see. Sorry, guys. Let's bead it. So we'll find a beater that is the right size. So I'm just going to give it a quick little test. I think that one's too big. So let's go for something smaller. It's hard to describe how to pick your beader, but pretty much what you want is you don't want anything too big, because then it'll leave a ring around your bead. You just want a nice perfect little bead, but you don't want it too small, because then it also leaves a ring around your bead because you've just smushed all this metal. So it's you got to find the perfect size that's going to just make a perfect little dome, a perfect little bead without leaving prop rings everywhere. So I'm picking, I don't know what size this is. They do have numbers on them, but I can't see where this number is. Oh, there it is. It's a 9. I'm going for a 9. So if I find, I'm going to do it really lightly at first. The 9's too big. Let's go a little bit smaller. So let's try and find number 8. And if I was a clever chicken, I'd have these in order of size, so I wouldn't bore you by picking through them. That's 18. But I do a bit of traveling for my workshops and for contract work, and one of my jobs is to do setting. And the little containers that these beaders come in, they come in this awesome little container where they are all set up in size, but that little container doesn't have like a tight lid, so it just comes off. And I was sticky taping it on for ages, but in the end I just decided to put them all in a different container, and so be it. I just spend a bit of time finding the beaders each time. All right, so this feels right. This feels better. So you want to come in on that engraved track you've made, and then sort of rock it a little bit, and then rock it over and over and over until you're right on top, and then you're rocking nice and around. But you don't want to go too hard just yet, because same reason with our grains, with our hammer set, we don't want to apply too much pressure in the wrong spot. So we just want to do it lightly at first, so that it's all evenly tightened. It's evenly tightened on every point. And then we're going to come in and we're not going to go super hard. It doesn't need too much. But I am now going to come in a little bit more seriously. Oh, you know what I've just done? I've just broke the grain off of that one. All right, this is good. I get to show you. All right, so I broke the grain off of that one. I need to raise another grain. And you can get away with doing this maybe twice before it starts to become a bit too noticeable. So I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper and raise another grain. So if I do this too many times, eventually that one little engraved section is going to look really heavy, really deep. You're going to be able to visually see that it's different to the rest of them. So that's why you can't get away with doing it too many times. You can come in and re-engrave the rest of them as well and make it look a little bit more even. All right, so I've just raised up a new grain then. So I've got metal to bead. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make them all perfect pretty. So just wiggle, 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 wiggle. Pretty much that's how I was taught. You kind of wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Get it on there and just give it a wiggle. Oh, line it up. There we go. Go around in circles, and then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Everyone at home right now is raising their 2 index fingers up in the air and wiggling them.
Because what we're doing is we're going around, 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 and that's making sure it's making a perfect little grain, I guess, like a rounded little grain. And then the wiggle, 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 as I'm wiggle, 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 I'm pressing down. So then that is the tightening of the stone. That's applying the pressure. So we're going around, around, around. It's making it a nice little perfect bead. And then we go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle as we press down, and that's tightening that grain down on that stone. So we're going around, 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 making our grain, and then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle as I press down. And I think I did that one already. Cool. All right, well, that stone's not going to go anywhere. Let's have a little look-see. Can we see?
It's starry.
It is starry. It's tricky to see with all this light, isn't it?
Mm. There you go. That's a pretty good angle.
Yeah.
Well done.
And then the light gets on and you can't see. It's tricky, isn't it?
Yep, no, it's a good shot. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's my cute little star setting. And I'll just break that off of the, I mean, I could heat this piece up, and then it would pop off the shellac, but because it's so brittle, I can also just break it off. And if you do have the shellac on the back of it, which is what I've got here, not a big problem. Sometimes you can just break it off, or just chuck it in a little jar of metho and then put the metho jar in your ultrasonic, and it'll just dissolve that shellac because it dissolves in metho. Cool. So that's a cute little star setting.
Yeah, well done.
Well, that's the two setting styles, and that pretty much takes us all the way to the end. I was not expecting to only do two. I thought I'd do some more.
Well, we can save those for another time, but
Yeah.
they were definitely a great introduction to hammer setting and grain setting.
Yeah, hammer setting and grain setting.
Yeah, we've got you back.
All
Really.
Right. Okay, so let me lift this up because you don't need that anymore. Cool. So you can see my beautiful face.
That was the idea.
Yeah. I can't believe how quick that went. I seriously thought I'd do 3 of them. All right. Next time.
As long as there's more for next time, that's the main thing.
Yeah, yeah. I've got so much more to teach you guys. Tune in for next time.
Well, Kirra-lea, thank you so much for that. I'll just ask our audience if they've got any comments or questions. If you'd like to come forward with those, that would be wonderful.
Yes. I hope that was helpful.
But certainly thanks to Yasmin, Kenrick and Susie, amongst others, for being there and asking your questions and providing comments.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing you and Kirra-lea sometime real soon. Thanks very much, Kirra-lea.
Yeah, we'll probably do more on stone setting if people want it. So in the comments, I guess, write down if you found that information useful and you'd like to know more. Otherwise, I can absolutely go back to just showing you sand casting if you're more interested in that.
Right. Now, just before we do go, we do have some comments. So Mariana has said, fantastic tutorial, thank you. Helen said, thanks, Kirra-lea. Love it. Lee says, I'll watch the replay. There you go. And Yasmin, do you do all the polishing before you set the stone?
Yeah, every piece is a little bit different. So sometimes, like, look, if I'm doing fine jewelry sort of style stuff, then yes, absolutely, everything will be perfectly pre-polished before I do setting, because I need to make sure that those surfaces are immaculate. And no more work needs to be done. All they need is having the stones set and then a light final polish and they're done. But with the sand cast stuff, they are rustic. I'm leaving surfaces raw. If anything, I'm like adding more texture to it. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they're polished. But I don't know if you saw, I didn't quite polish the table of that rose gold one, but I did make sure it was an emery finish so I could tell what sort of surface I was working with. As I emeryed that to a fine emery, I did notice there is porosity on the top of that rose gold piece. It just happens sometimes with sand casting. It is almost unavoidable. So I decided that I'm just going to put a textured finish on that to hide most of that porosity rather than having a mirror finish. But if it came up really nice, if I'd emeryed that and there was no porosity, I would have given that a light little polish before I hammer set it. But seeing as I'm going to texture, I just left it as a that emery. Hope that answers your question.
I'm sure it did. And Susie also said great tips. Thank you. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kirra-lea, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again sometime real soon.
Bye.